Hi, buddies! Welcome back to Emergency Pineapple Studios, where I talk about things that I love, and hopefully you do too. Today we're going to talk about D&D again. This is going to be another one of those videos where I do a quick build of characters for a specific race. And the race we're going to do today is the Dragonborn. Just a reminder for people who are new to this particular series, I do a beginner's build, a intermediate build, and a complex build for all races for this particular series. Also, keep in mind that I am currently prioritizing the 2024 book for these builds, but the 2014 book will still work for as it applies. So, without further ado, let's get started. Dragonborns are a relatively new race to D&D, coming out in the 5th edition. They are about as close to being an actual dragon that you can play without the overpowered aspect that comes with it. The best way to describe them is they are a dragon in humanoid form, with some major differences. Difference number one is most of the time they usually can't fly. Now, of course, that can change over the course of the game. Sometimes they can actually get like a flying feat. The second is that they don't have a very long lifespan. In fact, their lifespans are usually shorter than humans. And the third thing that they have is their alignment does not necessarily match their color. This will bring me to the next point, is that the Dragonborn can be a variety of colors. They can be the same colors as the chromatic dragons, that being red, blue, black, white, and green. They can be the metallic colors, which include gold, silver, bronze, copper, and brass. Or they can be the gem colors, which are diamond, amethyst, sapphire, topaz, and I think amber is the last one, but I'm not totally sure. But regardless, that's the colors they can be. Now, despite the actual dragons themselves of those colors having certain alignments, the Dragonborn are not necessarily those alignments. You can have a good red Dragonborn, but you can also have an evil gold dragon. On top of that, to the Dragonborn culture, there are two things they are known for: pride in themselves and their clans, and self-improvement. Self-improvement seems to be something that they strive for. Because they have such a short lifespan, they mature at a very early age. As such, they have this innate desire to become better. They always want to improve upon what is already there. As such, they always seek ways to find like enlightenment, become stronger, become smarter. And one of the things that makes them kind of unique is they are willing to ask for help. If I ever wanted to say like there is a true sense of like divine pride in them, it's there because they are, of course, relatives of dragons, but they don't have the same level of arrogance. They are more than willing to humble themselves to become better. Self improvement beats pride for them every single time. With that all out of the way, let's get started with the builds. The most basic thing a Dragonborn can be, based on all this information, is in fact a sorcerer. Sorcerers get their magic inherently, which means that an ancestor in their past was a magical being, and thus that magic courses through their veins. And one of the most basic things that can be the source of that magic are dragons. Since Dragonborns are quite literally descendants from dragons, it would make sense for them to also be sorcerers as well. There's also a sorceress origin that is a draconic origin, which means that they have a dragon ancestor in their past. Since Dragonborns quite literally are descendants of dragons, it would make sense for them to be a sorcerer who is also a descendant from a dragon. I will say this, that if you do decide to have the draconic ancestor origin, I would recommend that your draconic ancestor that's the source of your magic be a different color than the race of your Dragonborn. This will be for two reasons. One, that means there's no overlap in abilities, and two, it will give you a more diverse spell and breath weapon attack. For a background, I would select Merchant for three reasons. The first is the Merchant background increases your Charisma score, which is the spellcasting stat used for a sorcerer. If your stat increases, you do more damage, you can do more things. The second main reason is the fact that they get the Lucky feat as their origin feat, which, let's be real, sorcerers need. Sorcerers are very fragile, and they can only do a certain number of things, so if they can't do any of those things correctly, they will start having problems. So having the Lucky feat as a backup is really good for them to have. And the third, it fits the vibe of a Dragonborn, because Dragonborns themselves, being related to dragons, also have a need to collect rarities. Therefore, the Dragonborn as a merchant would want to, sell or trade some rarities. To be honest, I would go with being an antiques merchant, because at least then you can sell these things that are considered rare by other people to get your treasures. So, there you go. Basic build. Now we move on to the intermediate builds, and I have selected the Paladin class for this. Now, the reason I've selected the Paladin class is actually not for the mechanics, because I know people will, in the comments, will tell me that Paladin is one of the easiest classes to play. It's smite, heal, whack. So, the reason it's not in the basic build is not because of the mechanics. It's actually because of the roleplay aspect of it. Paladins get their power from their divine oaths, and usually their divine oaths have some sort of goal in mind, being devotion, justice, judgment, conquest, vengeance. All of that, there is a goal, and usually those goals have some form of self-improvement, which goes directly into the ideals of the Dragonborn clans. Becoming a better version of yourself. Goes straight there, and it's like they just kind of come together like this. On top of that, where the half-casters might be more fun to play, they're actually a little more complicated than spellcasters by themselves. Usually, I will say this, that a spellcaster is harder to play than a martial character, but I do think half-casters sometimes can be a little more intermediate to play, because you're trying to balance the idea of when to whack something and when to use magic, because you have so limited amount of magic. Thus, I think the Paladin is better for an intermediate build and for an intermediate player. So a Dragonborn Paladin kind of fits this vibe. Now, for the background, I would select Guard, and for the main reason of getting the boost to your strength stat as well as getting the alert feat. Since alert prevents you from being surprised, this would actually make sense for your Paladin, who is probably going to be your main tank, to have, which means if he's not surprised, he can react better and protect the rest of the party better. I keep saying he, it could be a she. But there's another reason I thought this would be interesting. If you have a Paladin Guard, that is the protector of your party, who is protecting your party from other dragons. You literally have another dragon to fight a dragon. Really cool imagery, a lot of fun. I genuinely think that would make for a cool character concept. So, by all means, please play this. Now we have arrived at my favorite part, that being the complex builds. This is going to be for like expert players or veteran players who want something interesting. And here's what I propose for you. A Dragonborn Druid. Hear me out. Druids draw on the forces of nature. That is the source of their magic. But it also says in the player's handbook, actually in most of the player's handbook, that druids tend to have like their respective circles. The circle being, of course, like, you know, the collection of druids, the clan or family of druids, which goes to the clan mindset that the Dragonborn are probably used to. On top of that, Dragonborn are always meant to want to become better versions of themselves, which, drawing in the power of nature, would give them the opportunity to do that, to become stronger. In addition to all of that, a Dragonborn who wants to expand their life would actually fit very well as a druid, because they can draw on the power of nature to extend their own life force. And I think that's a kind of a real interesting concept to think about. But there's another reason why I think it's a little complex. Dragons view themselves as arcane primordials above nature. They wouldn't stoop to like utilizing nature for their own power and strength when they themselves feel like they are above it. A Dragonborn would recognize that nature is more powerful than them, and they would humble themselves to become a wielder of nature as well as their own power, mixing the arcane primordialness of their dragon-like origin with the sheer raw power that nature itself can provide for them. I always think that druids are actually one of the more complex classes to play. They usually involve the most imagination, which is why I think that if a person plays a Dragonborn Druid, there's a lot you can do with this. Also, I think it would be genuinely funny if the DM allowed you to use your wild shape to turn into a bear and you still had your Dragonborn breath attack. That would be fantastic. Can you just imagine that? Just a bear in the middle of the night coming charging at you as a bandit, and all of a sudden the bear is breathing fire. That's cool, no matter how you slice that. With all of that, I have decided on a background, and the background is going to be artisan, with specific a focus on wood carving. Most of the time, druids don't like to touch anything made of metal. They actually have negative effects when they do so. But they can still use like metal tools occasionally, and sometimes they can even use stone tools. Because a lot of times dragonborns can have like sharp claws, I could imagine a druid artisan who is a wood carver who specializes in carving wooden structures and wooden statues. Basically, kind of making your dragonborn very similar to the old lady from Brave. Like, just, I'm a wood carver. I take the nature that is in the wood, I bring out the beauty. On top of that, you would have someone who is there able to fix your things as you need to. Whether they're using mending or whether they're actually, fixing it yourself, or, maybe they're the person who builds your house. Mechanically as well, this gives your Dragonborn the crafter feat, which turns them into the support healer type. Now, as sort of the opposition from the paladin build we talked about earlier, instead of being tanky and taking the hits, now your job is supporting the rest of your party and healing them. Honestly, could be a lot of fun. There's a lot of imagination required for this, but I do genuinely think this would make for a very interesting and complex character. And that is the quick build for the Dragonborn. If you like what you saw and you would like to see more, or if you have some comments and concerns, there's a comment section below. Please use it. Also, I would like to get to 1,000 subscribers by the end of this year, so please like and subscribe, and you know what? I will see you next time. Have fun delving your dungeons.